What's going on, Washington Commanders fans? It's your boy JP Football Fanatics here, back with you once again with another record prediction video. For this time, your favorite team in the NFL, the Washington Commanders. The team that Ron Rivera has not really been able to take this team up to the next level. A lot of it has really to do with quarterback play. A lot of it also has to do with coaching. For example, Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, you name it, a lot of problems. A team that is very underrated, but can't get past the big game or make the playoffs because of coaching, because of play calling, because of mediocrity quarterback play. So, what do we think about the Commanders this year? What do you guys think about the Commanders this year? Do you think they're a playoff team? Do you think they're a team that could take it to the next level now that we probably will be seeing a lot more of Sam Howell? Do you think this team is, still in that rebuild mode? It's time to let go of Ron Rivera to move on to the next challenge, the next level of how to improve this team to be better. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. It's your boy JP Football Fanatics telling you to please drop a like on this video if you have not done so already. Also, if you haven't done so as well, if you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell for any time that I post new content on here, please, it will be very grateful. I would be very grateful if you do that, because anytime that I post new content, I want you guys to be involved. I want you guys to be able to, give me the best feedback possible as far as like, what do you think about this podcast? What would you like me to do different? What kind of content would you like me to cover as far as the NFL goes? All of these things really matter to me because I want to relay my messages out to you guys and my opinions about the game of football and for the NFL content that is here. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let's get started with the 2023-24 season for the Washington Commanders. Let's begin. Here we go. Here is the schedule for the Commanders for the 2023-24 season. So to talk a little bit about the Commanders, there are some things about the Commanders. Obviously, the talent, the wide receivers, the running backs, a solid offensive line, a solid defensive line, and some good but could improve on secondary, for this team. The biggest downfall for them is quarterback, Jacoby Brissett or Sam Howell. Brissett had a nice season last year, had a story year last year with the Browns for filling in before Deshaun Watson came out of suspension. We don't know what we're getting out of Sam Howell. He had a good game last year against the Cowboys, but if he is starting throughout the entire season, how good is he really if he's starting a full season? Let's start off with week 1. That's an easy win right there. You play the Arizona Cardinals. That should be a win right there. Win number 1 for you right there. You start out 1-0. You couldn't ask for a better way to start out your season or Sam Howell's, starting caliber days debut in a way, even though he started last year. You can't go wrong with this game. This is a perfect, tie over game for Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett to then get ready for the next 17 weeks of the season. Because then after that, you go from one really bad team to a good defensive team in the Denver Broncos in Denver. Tough game here. Game that could definitely go either way, 100%. But if you're playing in Denver, that's not an easy place to play, especially in Mile High. Because if you have seen Peyton Manning play here before, or John Elway, or any other quarterback that has been playing for the Broncos, it's not easy to play. This is a fan base that is going to be very loud. They're very hard on people. And overall, the way of how the football is thrown is definitely different. It kind of weird in terms of like the elevation of how the ball is thrown. So I will take the Broncos to win in week 2, especially in Mile High. If this game was in Washington, I would probably try to maybe even pick Washington. But at the same time, it is the Broncos. It's Russell Wilson. But it will be a good matchup for this defensive line for the Commanders. That's pretty good to match up with this offensive line. And we'll see how the Broncos offensive line holds up in comparison to last season. Week number 3, you play the Buffalo Bills. Another intriguing matchup. The Bills offensive line is still not great. It could be better this year, but it's still not great. But it's Josh Allen, it's the Bills. It's a tough environment overall. Bills Mafia, it's not easy to play against them and handle that fan base, and especially if you're playing at home. I will take the Bills to win that game, hands down. They're overall the better team, much better team than the Commanders are. I think that they'll definitely have a really good game plan here to win this game. Then you go to week 4 and you play the Philadelphia Eagles. I think you're going to split with the Eagles again like you did last year. I think you're going to beat them at least once. You'll lose to them in week 4, but I think you'll come back and you'll beat them in week 8. That's how I feel it like it's going to be. Like the Eagles and the Cowboys could be the two teams, at that later point of the season where they could be just about undefeated. I really do. And I think the Commanders can spoil that surprise there and beat the Eagles in some dramatic way to end something or make like hearts broken for Eagles fans. So that's why I would say that you guys are going to split with the Eagles this year. Week 5, you play the Chicago Bears. You play this game at home. It's a Thursday night game yet again. Last year, you had Carson Wentz playing. It was not very pretty whatsoever. You won that game, but you probably shouldn't have really won. The Bears probably should have and definitely had every opportunity to win the game, but penalties kill you, matchups kill you. This year, you don't have Carson Wentz to worry about being reckless with the football. You have Sam Howell in Chicago, who's not that great, in my honest opinion. Made some key big things in the offseason, but defensively, I think is overrated still, and they still need a lot of work defensively. Offensive line is still a mess. You should find a way to somehow, manage a good game plan against the Bears, and I think you take a win. Week 6, you play the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to beat you this year. In comparison to last season, it was a game that was in Washington. The weather was crappy, but at the same time, when you have, when you're playing in a dome like the Falcons, and Arthur Smith is not going to allow his team to lose to the Commanders at least for 3 years in a row. I think they beat them 2 years ago. I don't think that happens again this year. So I will take the Falcons to win in week 6. I think that run game can definitely get something going with Bijan Robinson. Week 7, you play the New York Giants. I think you're going to split with the Giants this year. I think you lose to them in week 7, and then you come back and you beat them in week 11. I believe that's how it's going to go down this year. The Giants are a good team. They're a team that's going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and I think they can overtake the Commanders for this year with getting that last playoff spot. Next, you have week 9. You play the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots win this game. They should be able to win this game. This defense is definitely very hard to play up against under Bill Belichick. They're going to get a lot of pressure under either Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett, depending on who's playing at that point in the year. And there'll be some good matchups. I think Christian Gonzalez matching up with Terry McLaurin or Curtis Samuel, I think that's a really good matchup right there too. That's going to challenge him in some ways. And, as far as Antonio Gibson goes and the run game and Brian Robinson, I think they could have some success with running the football. I really do, because the Patriots run defense is still very suspect. It's still kind of questionable. So, but I think the Patriots pass rush, and for them man covering good receivers like Terry McLaurin and all them, is going to be very tough for either quarterback for the Commanders to play up against. Week 10, you play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. I think the Seahawks win this game here. I think the Seahawks are poised for a good year this year. I like everything that they've done so far offensively. And we'll see how I think will be a good matchup between the defensive line for the Commanders and the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. I think it will be a good matchup here. Secondary for the Commanders. We'll see how well they can match up with. Maybe they can match up well enough with, they got a good corner this year from Seattle. Maybe he could really match up in some ways with some of the receivers here for the Commanders, and especially if you have Jahan Dotson too, in the deep threat there too, that could be a big moment there too. So I'll take the Seahawks to win that game. Week 12, you play the Dallas Cowboys on a Thursday night. I believe this is a Thanksgiving game. I think you're going to split with the Cowboys like you did last year. For example, I think you beat them and you lose to them in week 12, and then you go ahead and you beat them in week 18. In my honest opinion, I think that's how it's going to go this year. So that's what I would expect. The Cowboys defense is going to be all over the Commanders, especially if you have to play this game in Dallas. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's exactly how it's going to go down. And especially if you have to play offense with the Cowboys, when you have to go get up against Dak Prescott and this wonderful receiving core that he now has in the run game under Tony Pollard, first year all time starter, this will be interesting. So we'll see. I think it will be interesting to see how they match up with the Cowboys this year. Week 13, you play the Miami Dolphins. I think this is the game that is going to go either way. I think this is a game where if you're playing this game in Washington, you could potentially win this game. You could say you could win this game. However, is the defense ready to go up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Tyreek Hill has had some time in terms of playing in crappy conditions before. So this game to him will probably be like no phase to him whatsoever. As far as Tua goes, as far as Jalen goes, Jalen has to not Jalen, Tua has to stay healthy. That's really the biggest thing here, is that he has to stay healthy. And I'm kind of worried about this particular game here due to the fact that there had been some very scary things that have happened to quarterbacks in this particular stadium in Washington, D.C. So I would like to pick the Dolphins. I am going to stick with the Dolphins to win, but I'm also very concerned of how that's going to go as well. Just throwing that out there. Week 14, you're at a bye, but then you come off the bye and you play the Rams. I think you probably could beat the Rams this year. Especially if you have to go, if that defensive line has to face that offensive line, that's going to be a lot for Matthew Stafford to handle. And even if Matthew Stafford does play in this game too, it's still going to be a very hard game there. So I think that's going to be extremely difficult for them to get past Montez Sweat or what's his name? Jonathan Allen and Chase Young. Like, you've got to really game plan for this. The only thing that as far as the Rams can do defensively is really just stop the run, really. And maybe they'll struggle even doing that this year. So really their biggest thing they're concerned is Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp. That's really it. Week 16, you play the New York Jets. At this point in the season in New Jersey, the Jets will have themselves figured out. They should be able to play better. I think Aaron Rodgers acclimates to the offense and he gets the team going. The defense, should definitely not go unnoticed. I think this defense is at least going to be in the top 5 conversation this year. I'm going to take the Jets to win it. I think their defense wins it for them. Although it will be tough for that defensive line for the Jets to go ahead and go after a solid offensive line for the Commanders. I think that will be a difficult task for them to do, but I think it's something that they can do. Week 17, you play the San Francisco 49ers at home. I believe another tough game. Last year was a game that could have gone either way, and that was really like the turning point for the Commanders of trying to make the playoffs. And it was this game and the Browns game that they ended up losing, and they needed to win out practically to make an appearance in the playoffs. So again, this is going to be very crucial. Quarterback is going to be like the biggest question mark here. Is the quarterback helm, with either Sam Darnold? Is it Sam Darnold? Is it Trey Lance? Is Brock Purdy going to be named the full-time starter? I don't think it's really going to matter either. I don't think it's going to matter either way, simply because of the facts that it's Kyle Shanahan, it's his defense. You can't go wrong with it. I will take the 49ers to win in week 17. Then in week 18, we talked about it, the Cowboys game at home. So overall, I can see the Commanders being at a 6-11 team. They can easily drop. They could be a 5-win team. They could be a 4-win team. But at the very most, maybe a 7, maybe an 8-win team. That's about it. I don't expect this team to make the playoffs this year, especially with quarterback situations. This should be, I believe it's going to be Ron Rivera's last game, and maybe Jack Del Rio too. It could be his last game as well, calling the plays, or actually not calling the plays, but coordinating the offense. But a play caller in Eric Bieniemy is going to improve. I think that's going to help it out a little bit, but not enough to be a playoff team. So I have the Commanders at 6-11. What do you think about the Commanders this year? Do you guys like them? Would you like to see something different happen? As far as the Commanders, do you think they're above? Do you think they're below 500? Do you think they're a playoff team or not? And just give me your reasonings. Let me know in the comments down below. It's your boy, JP Football Fanatics, telling you one last time to please go ahead, drop a like on this video if you've not done so already. Also, please be sure to also hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well too, so that way you can be introduced to new and more NFL content that I will be providing here throughout the entire year. It's your boy, JP Football Fanatic, saying thanks. We'll see you all next time. Peace.